Hey everybody, welcome to the pre-market analysis that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. This is Spartan speaking, by the way. I need to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen this morning. Once I'm done speaking here, Beth's going to come on, give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that happen over the course of the evening, any commodities or bigger picture items that make sense to be looking at today. Once that's done, I'm going to come back on. We're going to talk about the names that I'm looking at that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll talk about the news associated with those gap up, gap downs, as well as build a technical action plan for those names before the open. We'll also go through the SPY, the Fang, the VIX, the Qs, and the IWM as well. After that's done, South Beach will come on. He'll be going through any individual names, analyst calls, and the macro environment from his perspective as well. And then we'll do a quick little recap of those individual names that I talked about this morning, and we should be good to go. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, pass it back over to Beth, and I'll talk to you guys shortly. Beth, it's all yours.
Thank you, my friend. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. Pre-market here at Spartan Trading, Wednesday morning. Lots to talk about in terms of the bigger picture, obviously, with the technical setup. It's great. We have the volatility, we have the ranges, but are we out of the woods, in terms of this pullback? And that is the most important question. A lot of it's going to be clearly a function with what's going on with the yields. I did add yesterday to my TLT puts, and we'll go over why I did that. But I still think we're sloppy choppy with the earnings, especially with Fang. And I think that would be the driving force for the next 2 weeks. Clearly, these earnings cycle, where we're going with that. Okay. In terms of the macroeconomic data, really not a lot, right? They have their mortgage-backed applications are down, right? These are 30-year. The Bund auction in Germany, okay, whatever, retail sales. Once again, we have to look at the Pacific Rim, Asia, what's going on there. Because we know that the latest Delta variant, for the most part, took hold in Europe, but I want to see what's going to go on in Asia Pacific Rim to see if that's going to have an impact. And then we cycle through. I don't know if the stagflation narrative is off the table, but that's going to be months, right? And then we have to talk about, and we'll discuss this in terms of, is this as good as it gets with earnings? I don't know, in terms of growth, et cetera, et cetera. All right, we do have the EIA. Interesting, yesterday there was a build instead of a draw that was expected. Irregardless, we talked about it. The heat map said that a lot of these sectors, oil was just ridiculously oversold. They continue to bounce, but is it just a bounce and then rolling over again? We'll have to look at the charts for that. This is something that I have a hard time, because no matter how we talk about countries, whatever, people are in those countries, okay? And the humanitarian impact of everything we do, whether it's from economic standpoint or whatever, you have to understand that it's horrible in terms of the labor and what they do, but it's also their livelihood. So I don't know how this plays out in terms of longer term implications with Chi, but obviously Apple and Nike are doing, making changes. Lens Technology is making changes based off of what's going on. And they are, what implications we are doing are making an impact in terms of the ground in China. And that's a positive and a negative. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out longer term. Okay. Cyber attack, okay. I don't see why this is, well, first off, I guess the question is, if they're doing it to us, why aren't we doing it to them? I don't know. I just have to say this, okay, well, all right, words, but deeds, right? And maybe we are, and we don't know it. I just think it's interesting. Value versus growth. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, why can't we coexist? Why can't we do value and growth? Why does it have to be either or? It doesn't. Growth stocks that are sold off of value become valuation trades. Valuation trades that are sold off becomes like a growth stock. So this whole narrative is ridiculous, and yet it continues to be put out there. And I think that it's how you view it. Are you looking at dividends, et cetera, et cetera? Well, to me, that's old school. And that you cannot look at it that way anymore. You just can't, especially with the retail component, in terms of trading, in terms of how these stocks move, whether they're value or growth. Okay. Like I say, I don't buy a Costco, right? Or a Walmart or any of those things. I don't buy consumer staples because it's a value trade. I buy consumer staples, Visa, all these things. They just know how to make money. Okay. Do they pay a dividend? Yeah. But, okay. So, well, here we are. Green, everything was green, everything was red on Monday, yada, yada, yada. I mean, and it's, let's look at the past 5 days, still red. Utilities still green, real estate still green, and consumer staples still green. Energy, I don't have a problem with the energy pullback because it's still the top dog at 25% now. Real estate is now the top dog. But I mean, it was 45%, so it's a 50% haircut, but it was crazy. I mean, you don't get that kind of move anyways. All right, let's talk about analysts, upgrades, downgrades. Let's make sure this is up to date. You know the drill. I like to look at the top dogs. We've had a lot of initiations the past few weeks, which I kind of think is super cool, right? Some downgrades. Wish, they hate Wish. Context law, everybody hates Wish, right? And then Loan Depot, stuff like that. And then we have the upgrades, but that doesn't, and the reason why I go over this every day is because I want to see what these analysts option flows. Now, we have a top dog, Raymond James, twins, just got a buy, it was initiated. The dude is 90% success rate with a 37% average return. How can you not look at that guy? Payo, 73%, 50% upside, buy, initiated today. We got some upgrades today, right? Electronic goods, but just on the cusp. And then we have IAC. So we'll see if we get any option flows in anything. Earnings, woohoo. A lot of beats, a lot of surprises, some misses, right? ASML, UTB, Hog was a miss. I love earnings season. J&J, guys, we have to talk because that's the largest holding exposure in XLV. So we're probably going to take some profits on that XLV conviction trade. Those of you who followed me on it, right? And I'll talk about it again. All right, Kathy was very, 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 very active yesterday. A lot of buys. Well, you know, she loves Korean. What was she selling? That's the thing. She's always selling close. I mean, she's got like nothing there. Like, took her a couple months. And that's horrible because she has an Israeli fund. And it pretty much decimated it. So she's on TXG. Nothing surprising here. AbbVie, that's kind of interesting. She's so good. Still loves point across all of her exposures, right? And she loves you, right? We know she loves PAP. Right? Oh yeah, she sold. Nintendo. Open, she's been selling, right? And she stopped selling her Chinese names. I'm assuming she got to a position size that she can live with. I rarely talk about this, but let's talk about it. The Greeks. For us, what we do here, clearly the most important thing is delta. Because we're using it as a function, to get into, we're using options as a vehicle to trade stock. That's what we do. We've nailed it. We're fantastic with this trade. Nobody does what we do. And anybody who does do what we do is somebody that I trade, okay? I'm just saying that. Okay, so very rarely do I talk about gamma. So gamma is the rate of change. Right? There are times when we're looking at these sort of pullbacks and movements in volatility where we actually do have to look at gamma and whether it gives us any inclination of the market as a whole. So this dude, he's very wonky dude, okay? And he's basically saying, okay, if you're looking at gamma, what he's seeing is, and this is a spread, market cap ratio against the gamma exposure, right? He's saying that it's still bearish, okay? Now, yeah, it's bearish, but it's not statistically viable for us, but it's something to understand that if you look in terms of gamma, there could be selling that's going on for those who actually are options traders, okay, because of gamma. Just saying, something to keep in the back of your mind. All right, McClellan, we nailed that one. Told, hey guys, gonna get a bounce here. Well, we got a bounce. All right, now the question is, well, where do we go from here? Too soon to tell. But normally when we get these bounces, guys, you can see that on the McClellan, it's more sustainable, and we should, the only other caveat would be, and this is why I have this problem in terms of looking at this market, is this similar to, let's say a 2.0 light from last year, February, March with the COVID, okay? I don't know yet. If it is, then we would roll over again. Keep an eye on this. If it is not, then you would see us continuing to move higher in the market short term. So the McClellan last little. All right, optimism still kind of in the toilet right now, guys. We are reaching levels that are notable. Okay, I want to see that start to curl up. I mean, that's what we really need to see. It hasn't yet. Okay, fear and greed. Let's talk. This is not the CNN fear and greed model, which was 17 yesterday. It's 20 today. 23 today. Anyways, it bounced a little bit. Still in the red. So this is their fear and greed model. And they're looking at what they're. This was the huge. This is fascinating because the fear and greed model, a lot of these indicators have gotten it wrong. If you see here, the fear and greed continues to, be fearful, but the market has been continuing to grind higher. So what does that mean? And this goes back to 1998. Short-term sloppy choppy, longer-term bullish, but not to the extent where I said, ooh, like 90, 100%, but bullish, right? What happens here when this S&P is within 1% of the 52, and fear and greed less than 40? Sloppy choppy bearish bias. And this all gets back to the construct, well, do we have to revert back to the mean? A lot of individual tickers did revert back to the mean, right? But the indices as a whole, if you look on the daily, yes. If you look at the weekly, monthly, no. And the weekly, monthly charts are still incredibly stretched. I still think that the big pullback, 10+%, happens in October to December. And that's with, FOMC, but also that's also with earnings cycle and see what happens there. But you never know. But it's the extension that's there. It's elasticity theory. The further you stretch, okay, when you snap, right? It's that escalator up, elevator down. We haven't seen that yet since really, for the most part, in quite a while. So we'll see how it plays out. Okay, S&P within 1 week, well, anyways, you can see it. Okay, dumb money, smart money is less than. Yeah, smart money has more confidence in this market than dumb money does. But don't forget, smart money's been hedging with, we know that for a fact. So what does that mean when smart money is smarter than dumb money? It's bullish. Not by a lot, but it's bullish. Short-term sloppy choppy, 3 months plus, bullish. And this is what I like to see. I ideally like to see 90+%, but you can see. See how it plays out. Okay. You would not expect this, guys, but yesterday the S&P had fund flows out. Oh, and this is a pretty good amount that came out of it yesterday. Qs as well. We haven't seen this kind of number in a while on the outflow side. Notable. Where did it go? Now, nowhere a lot, a little bit in IWM. So this is kind of interesting. So we'll have to keep an eye on this, whether this is kind of like institutional smart money. I don't know. Heat map, we talked about this. What did we say yesterday? This is a bullish heat map. It will bounce. This is how you use these heat maps, guys. This is, I would say, 100% accurate when you get these sort of single digits within 1 to 3 days. 100%. Right? Now look at us. All right, well, now we sit and wait. We got nothing right now. So the optimism is striking, but nothing here. All right, let's take a look at flow. Please be aware, this is the sweeps, the option flows. Yes, the sweeps. This is very, very, very light. And you know what happens when you have certain movements on light volume, right? I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. That bounce yesterday was very, very light from an options perspective. Red flag. All right. So for all our Elliott Wave peeps, this is Avi Gilbert, the best of the best when it comes to Elliott Wave, and I will pit him against anybody. All right. So basically, he's looking for a C wave up to 43.50. Not a lot. This is the 15-minute, right? And then potentially a B wave right up to here. So not a whole hell of a lot. And then on the downside, right? You've got basically, this is your pivot, this 42, 70, 80s level. Risk reward, right? It's all about risk reward right now. All right, VXN. I wanted to show this to you because the VXN did fill the gap, right? As you can see on the hourly. Right? What does that mean? Let's see if it bounces. Like I said, I just don't think we're done up and down and all around on the downside yet. Right? And we'll go over why, because of where we are. We're almost in the mid on a lot of these ranges. Okay, that's what happens when you get 1.5%, 2% on the downside. When you get 1.5% on the upside, you kind of put you back at break even, right? Except we know what, based off of this, things are still red, right? So we know that. Okay, so let's talk. It's bond time. Yields are up across the board, 30, 10, 5, 2. Canada's up. Europe is, for the most part, up, except for Italy is down. Japan flat. Australia is up, and Hong Kong is down. All right, so we bounced off of the 50, the fib, and it reverted back to the mean. This is the monthly on the 10-year. Okay, so let's see what happens when you claim. That's why I added yesterday to my TLT, was because it was the place to add. Right? It's all about risk reward. We reverted back to the mean, and it's bouncing. I don't know how far it bounces. This is a shit show. And the reason why it's a shit show is because a lot of these institutions are trading this with big size and basically trading it like it's a stock. It's crazy, but that's how it is. And as long as they're doing this, God bless their little souls. Right? This is what we got. TLT, like I say, we got topping tail here on the weekly, and you can see here we kind of got into the region that made sense to me. Go long, well, short, the TLT, long grades. And let's see if we can move all the way back down here. It should. And basically, if we break the 149.44, okay, I'll probably add to it on a scalp. All right, here's 210. Yield curve is starting to get widen again. God bless this little hug. Went right into the 38.2% fib. It's good. Here's the 1030. And this is really fascinating, right, guys? So the 1030 broke out, right? And it's starting to widen. That's a bullish narrative, right? German rates, they bounced off of this monthly uptrend line. Okay, notable. And we see the Chinese came out and said that they're going to keep their currency stable. With that said, the rates are very low. And this to me is a huge red flag, guys. Huge red flag. Okay, the reason why I say that is because if they continue to lower their rates, that tells me that in the internal, this is quantitative easing in terms of lending, things are not going well. And the Chinese market is showing this as well. All right, currencies, you know the drill here. I want the dollar to come back down. We'll see if it does. Chinese yuan, I don't think this breaks out. Here we are in the commodities. Gold is down. Oil is up, right? Zinc, lead, metal, copper, tin down. Wheat's, you know, the agricultural side has been pretty strong lately, and we have a bounce in lumber. Here's a CRB, kind of nowhere. This is crude. We're in kind of like a crazy ass note. I mean, this is crazy ass, right? So this is the bottom end of the range, this is the top end of the range, and we're still in the lower quadrant. So we have more to bounce. This is a crazy chart, right? I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here because I want to talk about value growth. Growth is still outperforming value right now. This would have to start coming back down for the small caps IWM to take the lead, right? And I want to talk about here the Russell, where we are with that. Right, here's the Russell. We're in a massive monthly triangle. It broke below, pierced it, came back down to the bottom end, now it's reclaimed it. And this is why I love monthlies and weeklies, is because it's time, right? Here's the Russell against the S&P, right? For me to get really bulled up on the Russell, guys, we have to reclaim this pivot right here. Okay, it is bouncing, no question about it. But I can't get really aggressive, okay, until we actually reclaim this. Here's the Russell against the Fang. It held the pivot right here, reclaiming. It has to basically break this extension for me to get pulled up again. Here's the Nasdaq against the Russell. It got rebuffed. Okay, this is so on the downside, the Russell's strengthening, right? Got rebuffed at the 61.8% width, the 50% fib. This is a very, very tricky chart right now, right? So, and it basically says the same thing. Growth and value are kind of tied right now. I do want to show you the TNA. I do have a longer dated spread on in the TNA. For me, I'm still looking at this as a short-term bounce until we actually break the pivot here. So it sounds great and everything like that. And yeah, they took the Russell to which I understand all that stuff. But for me right now, I can't get really excited except for a bounce trade, scalp, okay, until we actually start to break and reclaim some of these pivots. And then I can say, okay, I'm going to add to my TNA. I'm going to add to my IWM. Right now, what I'm going to do as the IWM continues to bounce, and the market continues to bounce, I will either write against my IWM or I will just start to take profits. It's just a bounce trade for me now until we get some serious breakouts, all right? And you know, this is what I do. These spreads, this is what I do. Okay, all right. That's my story. It's a good story. My time is up. Welcome once again for those who are joining us, pre-market here. It's fun. Your live YouTube stream as well, new members, etc. Are you ready, sir?
Just need about 1 minute here, Beth.
Okay, you know I can do that. All right, so let's talk about overseas, like China, BABA. Nah. We're still mired in muck. And the thing that also kind of concerns me is if you look at the PDD as well, a lot of these just don't look good, right? K-Web, the bounce was absolutely pathetic. I don't think we're out of the woods yet with the Chinese stocks. I don't know how that continues plays, but clearly you're going to see money flowing out. And I want to see what the the foreign direct investments look like next for this month, right? That'll incorporate what's going on. So just be aware of that. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. Let's look at this is the emerging markets. Well, basically this is China, right? The largest holdings, right? BABA, et cetera, Tencent, yada, yada, yada. Still, this is not, the bounce just wasn't there. Now, the DAX did hold, okay, this uptrend line, its bounce also is kind of muted, which kind of makes me think, oh boy. All right, small caps, EFA. We did, if you look here, there was a lot of support here that came in on the EFA where it bounced, okay? So, we'll see once again, these are just, until we reclaim, okay, these uptrend lines. This is a weekly chart too. We still have to say that this is just a short-term bounce to damage. It did break below the mean, right? So this is very weak. We'll see if it can start to reclaim. It is higher pre-market. I did add to some of my EFA as a scalp based off of the bounce in the market, because if I'm going to do IWM, I'm going to do EFA because it's small caps excluding US. So we'll see. And these are just scalps. I may be out of it today. I might be out of it tomorrow. I don't know yet. All right, let's take a look at the Fez. This is and I love Europe still. Okay, it did bounce what it needed. It held with the previous all-time high breakout. You can see that, right? So it held there. It has to reclaim this. It's sitting right on it right now. And that is for European funds, okay, that's the 45.30 on the Feds. I'd like to see it reclaim, see how it works out. It should move higher, okay? But then again, we've got a lot of, this is the weekly chart, so this is more, as you can see, a quadrant. Okay, as opposed to anything. If we can reclaim, then we can start talking about, I'll put the fibs up and then we can start talking about, well, what's going to happen here. And guys, you should be putting your fibs across the board on either the daily, weekly, whatever time frame you want to look at to see what these bounces look like. And the reason why I say that is we have a gap to fill, I understand, but you also have to start looking at the shallower the bounce, okay, then the stronger the rollover is going to be. It goes both ways, right? The shallower the pullback, then you curl up, and the stronger the push up. So on the downside and the upside, it's the same sort of narrative. If you can't reclaim if you can only reclaim the 23.6%, this is a very powerful movement on the downside, and you expect the next leg down, and more than likely it will be down to here, 43.4. Okay, which is the 50 EMA on the weekly. Like I say, with a lot of these, because of the price action, we saw these pullbacks, reversion back, whether you're looking at 20, 50, 100, or 200 on the daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, that's it. For me, I like to look at the 21, and you can see it's already broken, so this is really weak.
Good to go.
All right. Okay, guys, have fun.
All righty, guys, morning. What's going on? Spartan here again. Let's pop up the screen share. If you guys are new to chat, I'll go through the basically onboarding stuff at the end in regards to where to go, the rules, all that stuff. But in short, if you guys are new, go to the new to chat information section at the top, give it a read as well as a disclaimer, and you should be pretty much good to go if you read through that entire section from top to bottom. So we'll go through that again, like I said, at the end of the stream when I shut down the YouTube. Anyways, let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. A couple different things. Pre-market tickers on watch. Roku, Coin, Nvax, SMBR, Riot, CEMI. Market gapping up, or not really gapping up that much, but slightly from last day's close right now. But anyways, Roku gapping down in sympathy with Netflix and other tech names. Coin gapping up in sympathy with the push on BTC back above 30K. Nvax gapping down in continuation from last day's profit taking. SMBR earnings miss, EPS and revs year-over-year growth 70%. 2021 guidance up. Stock is gapping down though on those earnings miss. Right, gapping up in sympathy with the push on BTC, and then CEMI, Chimbio, whatever. Stock more than doubles on $28 million purchase order for its COVID antigen test. Stock is up nicely on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two today, guys, we're gonna be looking at are Roku and Coin. So Roku, main reason I wanted to put Roku up is I just love the daily chart. I think it looks fantastic. Nice little flag set up here. We'll see if it's able to actually get through or get back into this downtrend range, I should say. EMA support being reclaimed in the short term. Okay, okay. Just want to make sure my levels are good. Let's move down here. Yes. Can go. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday here. All righty, Roku. Pivot on the upside today, guys, on Roku is going to be around that 417.56 area. This level is able to hold. You got room towards that 424.62, then into the downtrend area, as well as this top resistance at 430.47. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 410.21 to 404.71 on the downside. Overall on the Roku, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. I want to see a reclaim of the pivot, continuation push to the upside. Just going to move this over here a little bit. Like the chart on the daily for continuation into that downtrend. It's a matter of holding above that short-term EMA support for continuation higher. So if we're able to do that, we should be able to see a continued push. So watch the pivot point today, essentially. 417.56. Leaning bullish neutral on Roku. Let's take a look at coin. Coin gapping up. Nice continuation from yesterday. Let's see where we got room to today. And obviously our overnight is the 230s are in the money, which is sweet. Okay. That should be okay. $230.72 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. You got room towards 234.31. If that level breaks, we can see further continuation on the upside into the 238.93. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 226.17 to the 223.18 level on the downside. Overall on the coin, going to be leaning on the bullish side today, looking for a continuation push higher if that 230.72 level is able to hold. Level's able to hold, we should see continuation to the upside. So that is coin, that is Roku. Leaning bullish neutral on both. Let's take a look at the next two names. I'm just going to take a screenshot of these. Then we'll move on to Nvax and then SNBR. Nvax, let's take a look. It's a little bit of a pullback, continuation from last day. Did fill the gap after being rejected at the top of the range. A little bit of a double top there. Let's see what this downtrend break is as well. In the short term, okay. Okay, yes. All right. So back into EMA support on the daily on the downside. 208.11 pivot. This level is able to hold. You got room for continuation into the 212.80 to the 217.83 level on the upside. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback into the 202.59 spot to that 194.83 on the downside. Overall on NVAX, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for continuation higher. Bearish neutral side, looking for continuation lower. If this pivot's unable to hold, I think it just needs a little bit more of a pullback. We'll be looking at lower end support for basing and a curl back to the upside. So a little bit of a pullback this morning, and then I think we can see a bounce. All right, SMBR. So gapping down on the earnings, breaking this bearish consolidative range to the downside. Or just this range, I should say. Wasn't really bearish. Went too low on that. Pivot, okay. Let's take a look at this thing intraday. So 98.51 will be our pivot to the downside today. Levels able to hold, room back towards 102.29 to 108.33. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback or continuation down, I should say, towards 94.51. If that level breaks, we can see further continuation into the 90.68 on the downside. Excuse me. Overall on SMBR, going to be leaning on the bearish side today, looking for continuation lower. So I want to see continuation to the downside on these on this earnings report. Basically bad action with okay earnings. I mean, usually good guidance typically will say it's more bullish than bearish, but clearly not in this case. So that's NVAX, that is SNBR. All right, let's take a look at the next two guys, Riot and then CEMI. So Riot, a little bit of a gap up here. All right, I'm gonna have to redo some levels here. It's definitely been a while on Riot. Perfect. All righty. So Riot. Pivot to the upside today, guys, will be this 27 level. Level's able to hold. We got room towards 28.46 to 29.68. Unable to hold 25.41 to the 23.90 level. Will be tested on the downside. Going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side of Riot today, looking for a continuation push higher. Downtrend break on the daily. Short-term EMA support reclaim. It's got room to push off the lows. Quite a bit of room. I mean, it's been beaten down for quite some time. So I think we got more of a bounce to the upside if that pivot is able to stay intact today. So that is the key level we'll be watching for a bounce. All right, let's take a look at CEMI. All right, looks like we played this not too long ago. All right, let's look at this thing intraday here. Get rid of that fib. Put one here. All right, guys, pivot to the upside today, 417. Levels able to hold, 492 to 537 will be tested. Above that, 565. Unable to hold, 335 to the 280 level on the downside will be tested. Overall on CEMI, going to be leaning on the bear side today, looking for a pop topping, take the stock short. Have been getting some decent fall through on the small stock, so got to be very patient for that to occur. But I think we can get a nice little push flag break to the upside out the gate this morning, and then we can wait for that topping, and maybe after the first hour and a half, see if it comes back in a little bit. So that is Riot. That is CEMI. Let's take a look at the SPY and the Fang. So market, guys, let's see what's going on here. Quickly just save that. Here we go. So we're going to label last day's high as well. So market, obviously big bounce yesterday. Last day's high is going to act as a pivot. This level was able to hold. They got room towards 433.23 to 433.95. That level breaks. 434.70 level will be tested on the upside. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on the SPY towards 431.42 to 430.79. That level breaks. 429.88 will be tested on the downside. Overall on the SPY, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side again today, looking for a continuation higher. It is back above EMA support in the short term. Obviously, the 50 EMA held on the bounce. I want to see a retest of this head and shoulders area, which is around which is literally the upper end resistance. So that's what I'll be looking for on the upside today. So that's 432.41 as your pivot. We'll see what happens. Obviously, pivot holds. We get continuation higher. Unable to hold, I think we'll come in. Just a matter of what happens. If it comes in, guys, I think we'll probably retest this level right here pretty quickly out the gate. 427.51. Potential to go lower, but we'll see. All about that pivot point today on SPY. So that's the SPY. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple, guys, pivot to the upside today, and this should be linked so we can switch. There you go. So Apple, same thing. Retest of the short-term EMA support. Nice little bounce yesterday. It's actually flagging out to the upside. Yeah, slightly. It's too much. Perfect. Okay. So pivot to the upside today on the Apple. They're going to be 145.05. Levels able to hold. They got room towards 147.03. That level breaks. We can see further continuation on the upside into the 150 level. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 145.05 to 143.54 on the downside. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning bullish neutral today, looking for a hold to pivot for continuation higher. So that is Apple. Let's take a look at Amazon. So Amazon unable to get through short-term EMA support or reclaim short-term EMA support back on the upside just yet. Pivot to the upside today. 359.35. Move this down a little bit. $395. All right, that's good enough. It's close enough. So 395.48 going to be the pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. We got room for continuation into the 363.38 level. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback into the 35.50 to 35.14 on the downside. Overall on the Amazon, going to be leaning on the bear side today, looking for a push into the pivot this morning, and then I think we're going to get a rejection, a pullback. So that's what I'll be looking for. So that is Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix, which did have earnings yesterday, which pulled back slightly off of them. Let's take a screenshot of this real quick. All right, Netflix. So obviously a little bit of a bounce off the EMA support last few days. Pivot to the upside today is going to be 530.71. Levels able to hold 537.24 to 541.64 will be tested. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 521.92 to the 515.27 level on the downside. Overall on Netflix, I'm actually going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a little bit of a bounce back above the pivot. I think it held up well off the earnings. Dip got bought back up, and I think it's going to get a little bit more continuation today, in my opinion. So that's what I'll be looking for there. Plus, you got a decent amount of EMA support that's holding in on the daily. Facebook, pivot to the upside today is going to be this 342.89 level. Level's able to be reclaimed. We got room for continuation on the upside. Back into the 346.82. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback into the 338.41 on the downside. Overall on Facebook, leaning bullish neutral. I want to see a push back into this resistance area. It's also where the EMA resistance is on the daily. And if that level is able to be reclaimed, obviously we can get continuation. Otherwise, I think you'll hit that area and you'll probably start to pull back a little bit. So that's Facebook. Let's take a look at Google. All right, so Google, guys, holding EMA support on the daily. Actually has some room to retest the head and shoulders if that level is able to hold. Pivot today is going to be this 25.19 level. Level's able to hold. You get room towards 25.31.44. And then into the 25.40 level, aka last day's high area from, we'll call it 25.41. Unable to hold 24.97, 24.85 downside. Going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a hold of the short-term EMA support for continuation higher. So that is Google. All right, let's take a look at the VIX. So VIX, guys, we got a pullback. So gap filled on the daily after it was extended to the upside. And we talked about this a million times. When the VIX gaps, it every single time fills its gap. From what we've seen so far, at least. But anyways, so that's done. 1984 pivot upside today. Levels unable to hold. We should see continuation lower to 1855 to 1754. Able to be reclaimed. We'll see a continuation on the VIX back up to the 2077 to 2187 on the upside. And of course, guys, we watch the VIX to get direction on the market. It's been working pretty well lately. So we'll see what happens. Watch that pivot point. Pivot point would be a reclaim of short-term EMA support if it gets back above it, which will definitely foster a bounce. And you'll also be flagging on the daily in the short term, like on the hourly, I should say. So keep an eye on both. I mean, we can just draw the downtrend as well. Might as well. Just so you know where it is. All right, let's take a look at the QQQs and then IWM. So Qs, guys, push back above short-term EMA support. That level is going to act as the pivot today, 357.48 area. Level's able to hold. They got room towards 358.96 to 360.65. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback to 356.25 to 355.23 on the downside. Overall, on the Qs, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a little bit of a pullback out the gate, and then looking for a bounce after that. I think you may see a divergence between the Qs and the SPY today. My notion, at least. All right, let's take a look at IWM last but not least, which we had a hell of a bounce on it yesterday. Our 220s are almost in the money. Nice. They were in the money slightly this morning. I'm still thinking we get a little bit more of a bounce on the IWM. I'm thinking 223 area is what I want to see. 219.36 pivot, unable to hold 217.44 to the 214.84 level will be tested. Able to hold 221.68 to the 222.85 level on the upside. Overall on the IWM, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today. We'll see if the pivot's able to hold. If it does, I think we can still bounce back to the middle of the range here. And then we can see what's what. All right, guys, so that's a SPY, that's a Fang. Those are the individual names that I'm looking at today. Going to go ahead, pass it over to Sell Peach for a little bit, and then we'll come back on, do a quick little recap of what I just talked about. after I'm done typing up the action plan, pre-market action plan, and we'll be ready to go. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Hey guys, okay, so let's see what we got today. 10-year is up 0.036, so it hit like a 118 yesterday more or less, and now it's 124.5. Curve is steepening, but let's talk turkey. It's flat as a pancake, okay? Very tough for financial institutions, but it's the direction that these things move in. And so I think some market participants are thinking maybe we made a bottom in rates. So they're taking up financials and stuff like that. So that's here in the US. In London, rates are flat. In Germany, they're down 0.41. They're basically flat. Look, you know what I've been saying about Europe. They're doing an absolutely horrific job at getting out of this pandemic. Maybe we'll see the same thing they did, but their vaccination programs are behind the curve. What can you say? That's what's going on there. I mean, that's it. So their bond market, I mean, yields in Germany are what, minus 0.41? I mean, so there you have it. So that's the bond market. Okay, so that'll dictate a few things today. We'll go over that in a minute. Let's look at commodities. So oil is bouncing back a little bit, up $1. These stocks feel okay. They felt okay yesterday. I was in a few of them. They look okay today. Silver, copper's flat. Okay, so it's kind of at the lower end of its recent trading range, but it is in a tight range, so nothing to get alarmed about. As far as agricultural commodities, they're more or less unchanged. Lumber's 542, so 300 to 1750, back to 542. Great direction for trading in that market. Currency market, US dollar is mixed against North America, up against the yen, down against the Chinese currency. It had a nice bounce off the bottom, and now it's kind of like, wishy-washy in this level. We'll see what happens. The euro's 117, so weakness concurs with their performance against the virus, and that's why that's what it is. You have crypto trading up into this little bit of a pep talk today from Dorsey, Musk, and Wood. I mean, I don't know. I think Musk should focus on making cars and stop with this nonsense. As far as the other two are concerned, I get it. Okay, it's part of their platform. It's part of their investment style, whatever. But anyway, so it bounced off 30,000, so you can use that as support. And I guess you can play it from the long side. I don't like to buy broken charts, as you know. I think these charts are broken. However, you can look at the 50-week moving average on Bitcoin. It's sitting there, the GBTC. And as far as Ethereum, it's not quite there. But I mean, if you want to use that as a stop, God bless. For me, I'm staying away from these things for the time being. And the more I learn about Bitcoin, the less I like it. I think there's some other coins out there that I prefer. Not Ethereum, but other things. So we'll see about that. And let's look at the foreign markets, okay? They were down pretty good yesterday, right? And they didn't get a chance. Let's see how they did yesterday. When I looked last, they were down, but let me just make sure that's right. My thing is stuck here. Anyway, let's just move on. I don't want to focus on it. They're up 1% as far as the European markets, FTSE, DAX, CAC, basically about 1%. Nikkei is up about 0.5%. China's up 1%, and Hong Kong is flat. Okay, so that's what we got. What do I think today? I mean, the S&P has bounced around pretty good, right? It was up 20 when I walked in, then it was pretty much flat. Now it's up right in the middle. Listen, you're getting volatility. What more can we ask for? Okay, you had volatility on Monday, you had volatility on Tuesday, you had volatility this past Friday. Great trading market, love the volatility. I just hope it stays, okay? So as long as there's volatility, we'll figure out a way to make money or try to. And, you know, that's what I look for. As far as group rotation, with the bond market trending and people thinking maybe this is a bottom in rates, I'm kind of thinking that high PE tech and Fang and stuff like that, tech is going to be on the softer side with rallies in opening stocks, which got creamed. Okay, so banks are rallying. The bank charts are not good. I went against my rule and stayed long a couple of them. I had really good prices in them, so I stayed long. But I wouldn't be surprised. UAL numbers were decent. I think you get oil is coming off the bottom here. So you probably see retail strong. This is my initial gut feeling. Materials are strong. Cliff numbers are coming out. I told you I like this one. I bought calls in it yesterday. I bought equity in it yesterday. I'll sell the equity and probably roll the calls into some kind of spread. I bought them right. And, you know, that's my thinking on that one. You may get a bounce in the insurance names, the bank stocks, those kind of names that need rates to be higher than lower, maybe like the Charles Schwabs of the world. Retail should be okay. Casino should be okay. So, you know, I'm just high PE tech. If there's going to place that sells, very rarely do you get, you know, all stocks up and all stocks down like you got pretty much yesterday and on Friday. Usually there's some groups that are weaker, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. Okay. Tech. Let's see. What else? Banks, Fed, really no change in that front. Okay. Powell spoke last week. He's going to be quiet for a little bit, I think, until probably that trip they take. What's that called? I don't know, where they go out in the wilderness and talk about the market. He speaks some of that from time to time. I think that's in August. China was pretty quiet. Jackson Hole, thanks, Eddie. China, pretty quiet overnight. Crypto, like I said, you have that meeting of the trio talking, trying to, you know, do a pep talk before the big game on Saturday. We'll see what happens. Oil bouncing off the bottom. Virus, I don't see any change. You know, we know that this Delta variant is just running rampant. Hopefully people will get vaccinated a little more than they do. I know Apple changed their back to work date to October. Will other companies follow? I just don't know. It's too hard to tell. The dollar, we discussed Mr. Market. Let's see what Mr. Market did yesterday. A pretty pure day. The only group that had some kind of selling pressure, if you want to call it that, was consumer non-durables. And that's probably not going to happen today because Coke's earnings, they knocked the cover off the ball. Pepsi, who already reported, did the same thing. So these guys are coming in pretty good. I doubt people are going to sell them today. And yeah, and on the long side, pretty much everything was working, right? Cyclicals were strong, Fang, solar, gambling stocks, retail, banks, high PE tech, semis, Fangs, airlines, cruise lines, E&P, everything was working. I was mostly, and I guess I mixed it around. I was in high PE tech. I was in banks pretty good. I traded everything. I must have traded, I don't know, 50 different names at least. Okay, so anyway, that's what it was. I kept some stuff, probably, you know how, probably whittled down 90% and kept stuff that I had big gains in and see how that rode out. And so that was Mr. Market yesterday. Okay. All right. So let's see what other things we have going on today. We had earnings that came out, good numbers we had in CMG and HOG. XM, they were on Kramer's show last night. They told a pretty good story. That stock should have some juice behind it. J&J was positive. Verizon was positive. UAL, Coke, absolute gangbuster quarter there. ISRIG, ISRG, that is, LAD, NTRS is good. Keep an eye on, the BK and STT in lieu of that. So that was on the earnings front, positive. News-wise, you had SGFY transitioning some hospitals to home service, 50 plus. This is a good company, guys. All right. It's kind of like Teladoc, a little Teladoc. Seems like they know what they're doing. I know Kathy Wood's been buying the crap out of it. It's a good company. What else was there? SDC won a court battle, and PLL, they have some kind of EPA problem in North Carolina. We'll see what happens with the stock there. But they didn't file the right papers to open the mine, et cetera, et cetera. On the negative side, you had SNBR, you have SAP. I always say about SAP, this is the best technology company probably in Europe, and they stink. So I think they missed either last quarter or the quarter before. Their CEO left to go somewhere over here. I forget which one he went to. But one guy went to Nike, and he went, I think it was now. I think he went to ServiceNow. Anyway, he was a decent CEO, so I don't like the company. What can I tell you? Netflix numbers, I mean, how can you expect them to have the growth rate that they had? It has to slow down. COVID was like a B12 shot for these guys. So I'm not surprised by that. You have a lot of offerings, okay, for NSA, SciTech, SBNY, NTRA. The syndicate calendar is absolutely gangbusters, okay? Yeah, this SGFY was Trends is talking about. These guys know what they're doing. It's worth a look, guys. Syndicate calendar is just bursting at the seams, okay? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 IPOs today and 17 more later in the week. This is very negative for equities, okay? They can't keep coming with all these offerings. They're just sucking the liquidity out of the market. There's 4 secondaries also being priced today. Let's look at a couple of them. For the most part, the deals have been crappy on the quality side. Okay, they're just trying to make some money, these banks, and they're just feeding the market with, less than good companies, and it just, like I say, it sucks up liquidity. Are any of these good? This one, Paycor, looks good. PYCR, 18 million, it priced above the range of 23. Goldman Sachs, Human Capital Management Software. There's dozens of companies that do the same thing. So I don't know why you would want this one, but whatever. 18 million, 23 Goldman Sachs. That one's going to be hot. LAW, Software for Attorneys. JP Morgan. There was another one that came recently in the legal division. The one, legaldocs.com was some crap like that. Another stock I would never invest in. 7 million at 32, Software for Attorneys. KLTR looks no good. That's Goldman. This one may be good. VTEX, Enterprise Software for Latin America. I don't know. I'll stick with my money in the US. Latin America doesn't seem like a great spot to invest, in my opinion, but there has been a couple of decent companies in that space. For me, the best one here is the PYCR out of Goldman. Think is doing a tiny deal, 3 million at 6. Sometimes they run these stocks. The company makes catamaran boats. Very unexciting there as well. Okay, so that's the syndicate calendar, and it is robust and not positive for equities. All right, let's look at research, see what we got there. So we have at ATHM downgraded to equal weight by Morgan Stanley. They reduced the target to from 106 to 50. Stock's 57. Sounds like a sell to me, but they kept it at equal weight. I think this is an Asian company. I mean a Chinese company, excuse me. Just double check. Auto Home is the name of it. Yeah, it's in Beijing. I wouldn't touch a Chinese stock with a 10-foot pole. I mean, I'll trade them, but I won't own them. Initiate box at a sell. That's Credit Suisse. Target 19. Now, Starboard Value, I think, is involved in this one, so I wouldn't go short it. But that's up to you. Wish was downgraded to neutral, target 12 at Bank America. LDI, buy to sell. I hate when they do that. Mortgage origination sector. This is the second downgrade in 2 days in this group. They think mortgage originations are going to slow down. I would imagine that the odds of that happening are really, really, really high. Okay. The real estate market, I've never seen it like this. Probably none of you have ever seen it like this. I mean, I'm trying to buy something and this is nothing for sale. It's crazy. And you have to pay through the nose to buy it. So Intel reiterate the neutral. Citibank is saying they don't think the quarter is going to be good. IIVI downgraded to neutral, target 90 to 75. I don't think that's worth playing either. So on the short side, none of it is exciting to me, to be perfectly honest. Okay, let's look at the long side. Okay, Real was upgraded by Bank America, target 26, stock 16. Actually, it's 17. I don't know, StockX okay. VRSK, Morgan Stanley likes that one. Everybody likes HCA this morning or has a neutral on it. Targets range from 275 to 290. Everybody from Mizuho. I mean, just 6 or 7 people who talked about it today, of course. Truist, Credit Suisse. Raymond James has a 290 target. I think that's the high. Yeah, I'm looking now. Probably 8 or 9 guys spoke on it. That's the high. But it ranges from like 275 to 290 for the guys who like it. Okay. Everybody likes this XM, which had good numbers. I told you they were on Kramer last night. He likes it. He also had this BBBY guy on TV. I think they got him from Target. Guy's really swift. Okay. I know it's a meme stock, but it really looks like they're getting their act together. And this guy seems like he knows what he's doing. I'm going to focus on that today. What else? XEC, Truist likes this one, upgraded to a buy, target 80, stock 62. Wells Fargo likes Netflix. Everybody likes Netflix. Okay. The worst I've seen was a neutral, but targets range from 6.25 to 700. Let's see who has the high target in this one. $700 at Wells Fargo. Okay. But most people like it. Stifel raised their target in Microsoft to 305, and they like Hubs. What else? ALLY, that's a high quality company, raised the target to 70 at Deutsche Bank. That's interesting. DXC, they like that one, raised the target to 53, stocks 38. That's interesting. Okay, so let's see, which ones would I play out of these? Halliburton raised the target to 30. I might play Halliburton with oil up $1. That's one. XEC is in that space. That was pushed this morning. I might look at that one. Also, Goldman upgraded Halliburton too, so that's a second guy. So that gives me more reason to like it. Target 26 there. So those are the ones I think I would look at. Halliburton. And ALLY probably. XEC2 and XM. As far as Kathy, this is to conclude, she likes coin. She bought a lot of coin. She continues to buy this path. She's buying PACB again. She bought it early, sold it, and is now buying it back. She's been playing this one really well. KVSB, a SPAC name she's playing. And on the short side, Chinese stocks, BEKE, Tencent, stuff like that. Open, she continues to sell, and that's about it. So I'm out of time. I'm going to give it back to Spartan. Let's have a good day, guys, and it's all yours, buddy.
All righty. Thank you, South Beach. Guys, morning. What's going on? Pre-market tickers on watch. Posted everything in regards to the action plan. If you guys are watching the YouTube stream, you can simply just pause it and read. There you go. There you go. All right. All charts posted, of course. And then we can look at the options real quick as well. Okay. I think you guys got it. Pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got going on today, guys? Couple different things. Oops. There we go. Roku, Coin, NVAX, SMBR, Riot, Semi. Roku gapping down in sympathy with Netflix and other tech names. Coin gapping up in sympathy with the push on BTC back above 30K. NVAX gapping down in continuation from last day's profit taking. SMBR earnings miss, EPS and revs, year-over-year growth 70%. 2021 guidance up, stocks gapping down. Riot gapping up in sympathy with other Bitcoin names. And then Semi, Chembio stock more than doubles on $28 million purchase order for its COVID antigen test. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two names, guys, we're going to be looking at today, guys, Roku and Coin. So Roku, guys, pivot to the upside today. 417.56 levels able to hold. 424.62 to 430.47 will be tested. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 410.21 to the 404.71 on the downside. Overall on Roku, leaning bullish neutral. If the pivot can reclaim, looking for continuation higher. 230.72 on Coin pivot. Levels able to hold. We got room for continuation towards 234.31 to the 238.93 level. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 226.17 to 223.18 on the downside. Overall on Coin, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation higher today. Let's take a look at NVAX. Let's take a look at SNBR. NVAX, guys, pivot 208.11, levels able to hold. 212.80 to 217.83 will be tested. Unable to hold 202.59 to 194.83 on the downside. Overall on NVAX, going to be leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower if that pivot is unable to hold. SNBR, 98.51 pivot. Unable to hold, the room towards 94.51 to 90.66. Able to hold 102.29 to 108.33 will be tested. Overall on SNBR, leading bearish, looking for continuation lower today. Let's take a look at Riot. Let's take a look at Semi. Riot today, guys, 27. 27 is able to hold. You got room towards, that's our pivot, sorry. Able to hold 28.46 to 29.68 will be tested. Unable to hold 25.41 to the 33.90 level on the downside. Overall on Riot, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation higher today if that pivot point is able to hold. Semi 417 pivot, unable to hold 335 will be tested to 280. Able to hold, look for a pushback to 492 to 537 on the upside. Overall on Semi, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for a pop topping, take the stock short. Let's take a look at the next two names, guys. Not the next two. Let's take a look at the SPY and the Fang. Market, SPY. SPY, 432.41 pivot on the upside today. This level holds. Room higher. Into the 433.23 support resistance, sorry. Breaks, we see the 433.95 tested. Pivot unable to hold. Room lower into the 431, sorry. 42 support, like dyslexic today. Breaks, we see the 430.79 level tested. I'm leaning bullish neutral on the SPY if pivot can hold. Pivot holds on the SPY, guys. I'm looking for 434.70. Head and shoulders test, unable to hold 427.80 downside. That's what I'm looking for on the market today. So we'll see how it acts on the open, all that good stuff. But that's my thoughts. Apple pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be this 145.05 level. Levels able to hold 147.03 to 150. Room 2 unable to hold 143.54 to 141.81 on the downside. Overall on Apple, leaning bullish neutral, looking for continuation higher today. Amazon pivot to the upside is going to be the EMA resistance, which is 35.95.48 on the daily. Unable to hold, room towards the 350.50 to 35.14 on the downside. Able to hold 36.38 to 36.80 on the upside will be tested. Leaning bearish on the Amazon today. Let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix pivot upside is going to be the 530.71 levels able to hold. 537.24 to 541.64 will be tested. Unable to hold 521.92 to the 515.27 on the downside. Leaning bullish neutral on Netflix. Facebook pivot upside is going to be the 342.89 level holds. 346.93 will be tested. Unable to hold 338.41 to 333.82 on the downside. Overall on Facebook, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push into that EMA resistance on the upside there. Let's take a look at Google. Pivot on the upside today is going to be the 25.19 spot. Levels able to hold, we're towards 25.31 to 25.41. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 24.97 to 24.85 on the downside. Overall on Google, going to be leaning on the bearish side today. Sorry, no, bullish side today, looking for a bounce off of that pivot, continuation higher. Let's take a look at the VIX. So VIX, guys, pivot to the upside today is going to be the 1984 spot. Able to reclaim 2077 to 187 on the upside. Unable to hold 1855 to 1754 on the downside will be tested. Overall on the VIX, going to be leaning, well, not any direction, just using it for direction on the SPY as always. So that is the VIX. Let's take a look at the Qs and then IWM. QQQ pivot 357.48, unable to hold 356.25 to 355.23, able to hold 358.96, 360.65 will be tested. Leaning bullish on the Qs, but looking for a little bit of a pullback out the gate, and then I think we can see a push, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look at the IWM, last but not least, guys. IWM 219.36 levels able to hold, moving towards 221.68 to the 222.85, unable to hold 217.44 to 214.84 will be tested on the downside. Overall on IWM, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side, looking for a continuation push higher today. Alrighty, guys, that's it. That's the YouTube stream. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out at SpartanTrading.com. Otherwise, thanks for joining us this morning, and we'll see you guys next week. Alrighty, that's it, guys. Okay, so